Ladies, gentlemen, as you guys know, in these parts of the internet, aka on my channel, we like to dive into the background story of Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, everything in between, and today is no different. Now, you see, at the beginning of every single season, we dive into the entire story of that season, where the background of it comes from, how the characters tie into the overarching story, and today is going to be no different. Well, kind of no different. You see, at the beginning of this season, the cutscene that we got in game was actually the identical cutscene that we got before the season started, almost as a season trailer. And I was kind of avoiding doing this video because I wasn't quite sure how I was going to tie it all together. That was until the season launched and we also got intel in Warzone. Now, this intel is interesting because it not only ties into the Season 6 story, but also the Black Ops Cold War story. Now, every time intel is released, we dive into that story as well, but this time it specifically ties in to the Metro system and Season 6 as a whole. So, without further ado, I give you the full story of Season 6 of Modern Warfare.
Captain's intel was good.
Always is.
Zakhaev and his men have been using these tunnels to move through Verdansk unnoticed.
He had the tunnels but no trains.
Okay, hold up right there, because there's a couple of parts that we need to go over before we move on in this cutscene. First of all, they say Captain Price's intel was good, that the Metro systems were working. This was actually intel that we found in previous seasons. We saw that there was intel that the Metros were working, and now we are investigating it. The second thing that they say is Zakhaev was using these tunnels to move around Verdansk unnoticed. This is where Season 6's intel come in. So Season 6's intel is called Secret Trails, and basically it's all about the Metros. It says, find what Z, in other words Zakhaev, has been moving through the tunnels. So not only has he been moving people through the tunnels, but he's also been moving something through the tunnels as well. Now as we go through this intel, we do figure out what that is. So the first piece of intel is the same thing it always is. Find the location in the message that Ghost sent you, and this location is pretty simple. It's the entrance of the train tunnel by hospitals. So you go over there, it's literally a coin laying on the ground, you pick it up, and that is your first piece of intel. The second one says, Metro alarms may have been tripped. As you look at the piece of intel, it says, the trains are running. In other words, they turned on the Metro. I'm pretty sure that next letter is actually and, but there's also a period at the end of running, so it's kind of confusing. And taking material underground. Could have tripped alarms. Check Barricade Shopping Metro. So this is the Metro over by the Ferris wheel, and essentially what you have to do is go inside one of the break rooms and you find the next piece of intel right where you're seeing here on screen. The third piece of intel is where things get interesting. It says a radiological threat was detected. Then we get a full screen piece of intel. We have never got this before. It's always a piece of paper, a picture. This one is literally a full screen. It takes up your whole screen, no matter whether you're playing on PC, PlayStation. It's interesting. And what it says is it's actually a Metro System computer. It says version 1.173, copyright Metro System, blah, blah, blah. Most of this isn't necessary. But while they were running a system check, they had an alert for radiological material at the Verdansk Center. Now, the Verdansk Center is essentially the stadium Metro System stop, so that is where we have to go next. And essentially, once again, you have to do the same thing as the last one. Go to the stadium Metro station, go inside the break room, and you're going to find a piece of paper in amongst some other papers. And this one says a shipment came from a radiological lab, which is interesting because when I think of Verdansk, I can't immediately think of a radiological lab. Now, when you view this intel, it says emergency procedures, radiological, shut down transit to effective station, inform supervisor, quarantine area until containment team arrives, and then follow-up. Check with hospital radiological lab for scheduled shipments, room 301 near reception. So basically what this is saying is that you shut down the Metro system, might be one of the reasons why the Metro system was shut down, and then you go to the hospital to check if anything was supposed to be shipped there with radiological materials, maybe some cancer patients, things along those lines. So for the next piece of intel, you go to the third floor of the hospital, hence room 301, and then inside the room, you're going to find a little injection container, kind of like you find at all hospitals, laying on the floor, and that is where you find the next piece of intel. Now, this next piece of intel says a secret code could open new doors, and it says H6/492 85163. Now, if you look at H6 on the map, this takes us to farmland, and we know that there's a door behind a lock. It was part of the pawn takes pawn Easter egg. So you go to farmland, open the door with the code that's given to you, and inside you will find the next piece of intel. This next piece of intel states secrets locked in a vault. So you check this out. This is where things 100% get interesting. Now, I'm going to read this one to you, but it has directly to do with Perseus. So, Committee for State Security, meeting between Z and Perseus. In other words, meeting between Zakhaev and Perseus. So it says Z, whispers of support in the capital. Perseus, the snakes are talking. So already you can tell this message is kind of coded. Z, we need them. Perseus, for now, all corruption must end for a greater Russia. Z, the West is corruption. Perseus, agreed. It is decided. Z, will tell the snakes. End of transcript. So, big questions are left here. First of all, who are the snakes that they are talking about? Is the snakes the people to the west? Is this the CIA? It's very confusing as to who the snakes are. This might not be something that we actually figure out until Black Ops Cold War, but it's certainly interesting. But at the bottom, it says, notes, Z concurs, Perseus is capable weapon against the West. Express concerns about the ultimate objective. Now, we still fully don't know what the ultimate objective is, but I do have some ideas. So this one was probably the hardest one to actually find, but in the image, you can see some keys, which look like keys for a safety deposit box. And it says it's locked inside a bank. So what you have to do is pull a heist, go to the bank in downtown Verdansk, and inside a safety deposit box, you will find the final piece of intel. This intel says nuclear material has been weaponized. And what you see here is the nuke from inside of bunker number 11. Isotopes weaponized, dispersal units are ready. Now, there are a couple of interesting things about seeing this nuke in a piece of intel. First of all, as of right now, bunker 11 is actually locked. As soon as season 6 started, you can no longer get into bunker 11. So it makes me think that maybe they're changing something inside of there. Also, what this tells us is that in one way or another, the metro systems lead to the bunkers. We know this because we know that they were transporting radiological material through the metros, and now that radiological material is in the bunker. Now, I do have one other theory with this intel. I've seen no one talk about it, and I doubt anyone else will, because you really have to pay close attention to this one. So, for the fourth piece of intel here, it says, check hospital radiological lab for scheduled shipments, room 301. And after you find that piece of intel in literally a hospital room, it gives you a secret code. Why would a secret code be in the hospital? Then I remembered a couple of months ago, Activision put out a blog post about the background on the Zakhaev story. And what we find out in this is that in December 1994, Imran Zakhaev underwent an emergency heart bypass surgery and remained in the hospital for months. Now, we then go on to find out about the secret vault, and then finally, penultimately, the nuclear weapon inside of bunker number 11. Maybe, while Imran Zakhaev was in the hospital, this is when he was working on plans with Perseus to build the nukes, and maybe waiting until his child, Viktor Zakhaev, was of age to carry out his plans. Now, this part is just a theory, but all of that actually does line up. So essentially, that's all the information we can get out of the intel, so let's go back to the cutscene.
Can you power them?
If you buy me some time, yes.
3 enemies heading your way, Nick.
Then keep them out.
Down. You're clear.
Almost done, Farrah. Here we go.
Nice work.
Same to you. Give the captain my regards.
Stay. Help us go after Zakayev.
I'd rather kill him.
Good. You'll need this.
Back in the fight.
Actual, I'm with Nikolai. What on?
Roger that. Bravo 6 to Griggs. Stand by the move. Copy. Say the word, Captain.
So if I'm being honest, there really isn't that much more to this cutscene. It tells us that they turn the subway on, and that is pretty much it. Except there's one detail that you may have caught right at the very end, where a new character comes in. This is the little voice clip that we get.
Bravo 6 to Griggs. Stand by the move. Copy. Say the word, Captain.
Essentially, what this voice clip tells us is that Griggs is in contact with Price, and Price tells him to get ready to move in. In other words, Griggs is coming next. And this was further solidified when we got some promotional material from Season 6 where we get this character down in the bottom right. Now, to me, this doesn't look exactly like Griggs. It looks a lot like him, but it looks like he's maybe been on the keto diet for a couple of months and slimmed down a little bit. But hey, that's just me. If you disagree, feel free to let me know down in the comments. But as we know, moving into the end of Modern Warfare, this very well may be the final season of Modern Warfare. Now, there's a little bit more we're going to talk about in a video tomorrow, but very, very soon, less than 2 months away, is Black Ops Cold War. So what happens to the Modern Warfare story at that point is anyone's guess. But the people at Treyarch did say that the Warzone story for Black Ops is going to pick up right at the climax of the Modern Warfare story. So right around the corner, it appears like there's much more coming in Season 6. But for today, this is all of the information we have. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it's much appreciated if you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, like what you see, be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on. Let me know what you think of all of this down in the comments. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard.